We are live when you come back. Where? Oh, here it is. I can see the chat.
I had to really come to grips with terms,
With?
with me, with myself, um, and my um, academic pursuits.
Okay.
You know, what's true um, about me, and in comparison to traditional education.
Mm-hmm.
What's documented for me. Got a pretty good transcript.
Okay.
You know, pretty good transcript. Um, Massive amounts of certification
Mm-hmm.
um, for my honorable discharge, um, which military occupational specialty documented. 8214 testing, high school. Um, but most interestingly for me is where I would really start. And is my legal research
Okay.
certification. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was in 1995. 1995, I was, what, 20, 29?
Which is inconceivable for me because I wasn't there in your life during that time period, like actively. So it's interesting to try to envision you at that age and then comparing it to where I was at your age. It's interesting thought stream. Um,
So with that, it's a nice little place because, again, that's when I was introduced to studying the Constitution.
yes.
So we take that as a starting point, just that certification alone. I've been doing research on this level for over 30 years. I think that will put me into the expert range.
I would agree. Um, I would agree.
There's,
Ingrained.
yeah, there's definitely massive amounts of witnesses who can attest that this 13th Amendment has been my thing for 30 years to end this exception clause, you know, um, to repeal it. And, how now with AI, and able to, uh, with my tech background combined with legal research and access to AI and the internet, all this going, it's just, uh, it's amazing how people will cling to falsehood, cling
Falsehood
to,
out of I wouldn't say comfort, complacency. I think is the better word
for some,
for a
for
lot.
some, and economics, when I'm economically benefiting from extraction, from
Yeah.
slavery, it's the same old song. Why would I do anything to interrupt the system that's feeding my family and
And
my
benefiting
families.
me. Exactly.
Which is interesting as well. When I was at Arthur Kittle,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the Amir there, and I can't forget being there because 911 happened while I was the Amir of the community. So that's what, 2000? Uh, 2001? 911, yeah.
2001.
And I was coming up for parole, and I had told you the story about uh, Leroy, Leroy Clark. He was the superintendent's clerk for, God knows, 10, 15 years. And, you know, he literally had to go into, the superintendent went into the parole board hearing and pretty much begged them to let him go home. And they released him after having hit him. When we say hit him, uh, you go in for the parole hearing, you get released, or you get more time. Maximum time is, that you can get is 2 years, and then you come back and see if they'll let you go 2 years later. So they did that to him 10 times. So in essence, he did 20 years in parole hits. And the superintendent, after 20 years on the plantation, his clerk of 10, good guy, went in and pleaded with them to let him go home. And he did. And so I was coming up for parole. And I was like, pretty good rapport with the superintendent. I'm here the Islamic community here, you know what I mean? Doing my thing, holding it down. So I asked him, stopped him, because I had that line of communication with him. So I superintendent, when I asked you a question, explained to him, I thought it was the right thing to do, um, to go in and speak for, on behalf of the brother. He wasn't Muslim. And I asked him, if you know, my parole board is coming up. And I was just wondering if you would come in and say a word for me. And he looked at me. He's like, why would I do that? You helped me stabilize my jail. Thought about that, had to ponder the implications, uh, all the considerations of what this man just told me. Process that. Why would I go and speak on your behalf to go home when you help me to stabilize my jail? So, alhamdulillah, step down from the Amir, put in the transfer from that jail to go back upstate into the mountains. And I landed right outside on the other side of Attica, in Wyoming Correctional Facility. Yeah, but I didn't take any positions in the jail. So they hit me with 2 years. They were hitting everyone with 2 years. Every time you go. Doesn't matter. I was under Pataki. Everything is fact checkable. And so
You were
I
living like
lost.
a full of real life Shawshank Redemption.
Sure.
Yeah, you got to consider that you're in there on a crime that you didn't commit, and you helped enrich the prison, the jail. You helped enrich it, and the superintendent would not want you to leave because of that enrichment.
And
What an allegory.
it's also interesting, uh, from the men that forming bonds and relationships, uh, how it's sincerely um, the population, the prison population, the attachment, the structure, the safety, and having a leader leave or step down, or
Mm-hmm.
just a brother in the presence to be transferred or shipped or whatever the case may be at the whims of the state.
Yeah.
Um, the bonds that, you know, get formulated, and then torn apart. You that whole dynamic. So not only did, and it's interesting, when I was actually about to be released in 2008, that you have to really keep your release date
Quiet.
close to your chest. I've witnessed people get stabbed, uh, cut, and what in New York they call it a buck 50. You feel me? A lot of people don't know what that means. They get 150 stitches. That's what a buck 50 is.
Oh, jeez.
Um, but yeah, so even when I was in a couple of instances when I was going to be transferred, some of the brothers was like, "We don't want you to go. Yo, let me break your arm." And then they'll send you to the infirmary.
But yeah.
Yeah, and you can't travel. You got like a medical stay. You're like, brother, what I look like standing here and let you break my arm, man? You know,
Yeah.
I know you love me. I love you too, but I got to go, man. Lord got something for me to do somewhere else. You know what I mean? And also, that's cool because it came back like um, being that um, I went in. I have a high school diploma. I have a military background. So, as far as institutional structure is concerned, you're going to work or you're going to school. You're going to get a GED, and if that is going to be your program if you don't have it. Okay. And you're going to have a prison job. Me, I already had high school diploma, military, that. So there is no school for me.
Unless
You
you
gonna
make it
work.
yourself. Yeah.
You gonna work. So in short measure, I needed access to the law library. Okay. That's been from day one. From the time they put their handcuffs on me, I was dragging my ass to that law library every fucking day on Rikers Island. And so I was already eligible to be a law clerk, you know. So the seasoned law clerks that were already, when I was processed into the state system, there's already an internal communication network. And once you come to a facility, intake facility, um, to the transitional facility, then you go into a semi-permanent facility. Okay, so there's stages.
Mm-hmm.
we already know from an internal pipeline who you are, what you're there for, the type, because your reputation
It
already
travels.
precedes
Yeah.
you. And so when I got there, the brother snatched me up. You know, there was already a semi-planning in place for me for utilization in regards to my grooming. I'm facing 20 years. Um, yeah. So, little sidebar as I'm really in the zone. How about this? 96 and 1880.
That was your number?
I use that as a podcast. 96A 1880. Podcast title. But
Episode.
yeah, and that's it. You know, so even with that, you think about it, comparison to the Holocaust. They had the tattooed numbers.
You got, well, we get that from birth here with our
Yeah, you
social
do.
security numbers.
Mm-hmm.
We get it with our socials. So we're already
You kind of
tagged, and
smart there, young lady.
you get additionally tagged if you go in. I mean, technically, I don't remember it because I was in there for 2 days, in summation, um, when I went to jail. But they definitely were they forced us to memorize our numbers. Like, didn't care
You
about
do
what
it
your
in
name
basic,
was.
bro.
You need to know your number.
Yeah.
And, I know it's different for women's facilities are different from men's facilities. Um, I, when I got picked up, I had gone into the process. I had my hair braided very similar to this. And because me and Dante were fighting, he had pulled out some of my hair. Like, right in the front, he had ripped out some of my hair. So I started taking my braids out. And when they picked me up, half my hair was out. I gotta see if I can pull up my mugshot. I'm pretty sure it's up somewhere. But my hair was half done. Um, I looked so sad. Like, I had been crying and stuff, whatever. Not because of the fight, but because of my hair. I was like, this bitch pulled out some of my hair. And when I got in there, I went to 3 different jails. I got picked up in Tamarack. That's the city that the incident happened in. And then they transferred me to the big jail in Fort Lauderdale, where they hold everybody. And from Fort Lauderdale, they transferred me to Pompano to the jail there, and that's where I got let released from. But um, when we were in holding in Fort Lauderdale, the girls that told me that people would want my hair, my weave, would like, oh yeah, that's gonna be, valuable, whatever. You get it over there, this and that. And I'm like, all right, okay. I wasn't paying them any mind. We get over to Pompano, sure as shit. This girl, hey, can I have your hair when you take it out? You know what I mean? Because you weave, what? You
Yeah,
got you some
it's money.
hair?
It's
That's
money.
money. And
Yeah.
for me, I knew I wasn't gonna be in there long. You know what I'm saying? Like, I knew that wasn't gonna. I didn't mind. Like,
Mm.
and had I leveraged it
You done
differently,
had a
I'm
pack
always
of
looking.
cigarettes.
Right, I would have had cigs,
Right.
even though I don't smoke, and I would have been able to barter with them.
Exactly. Yeah. The whole
Got me
inside.
some commissary, have all the snacks, all the
Yeah.
good food.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you wasn't there long enough. Yeah.
I was
You
not there
take
long
that money.
enough, and at that time too, my heart was still too soft. I just know then, like, I would have probably been just like, whatever, just take it. just take it because I don't care. But had I leveraged it, I would have had people been able to take my hair out for me instead of me having to do it. That would have been, uh, y'all go ahead, take it out. Just take it out.
But
As
then
long as y'all take it out for me.
they might have went down like this. Hey, Jaleesa. Be like, no, sister, I'm strictly dickly. No, I
I'm
ain't
telling you,
going.
like, no, thank you. But full on when we were holding, it's coming back to me now because while we were in Fort Lauderdale, there were, of course, I'm in there with all these girls and we're talking about why we're in there. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting and this girl was telling me about how she had gotten into it with her boyfriend, and I'm just like, yeah, I know I was in there and I absolutely deserved to be there. Like, it wasn't, my actions were wrong, and I just accepted that. I knew, you know what I mean. Aside from the physical ish stuff, there was property damage involved too. So I knew I belonged to be there, but that didn't mean um it didn't mean I didn't have a good reason. Didn't mean I didn't have a good reason to do it. But it was interesting listening to all those women and their situations and how similar or dissimilar it was to mine. And we built, a little camaraderie, whatever. Like, the girls were like, all right, well, look, when we get over to, the other jail, we're just going to stick together, this, and that. So that way,
No,
no one could,
nobody's exploited.
exactly.
Yeah,
And,
got a little click. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
If one go, we
they
all
would.
go. Yeah.
I got a small taste of jail life. I've got a very small taste. But like I said, for me, only
That
take
was
that one
enough.
time. I just
Oh,
need
that was
one
enough for
time and
me
that's
too.
it. Heck yeah.
Okay, it was enough for me too. It's just
I
that
would
they
say
gave
that.
me a whole asshole full of time right off the rip, because I was a fighter. Shit. Y'all not getting away with this shit. You feel me? Right, wrong, and y'all are wrong.
Right.
Y'all are under the color of law wrong. You know what I mean? Yeah, didn't
I
do no
think
good.
I need to put out there like a kind of a thing to the community to see if anyone knows an attorney that um would take my case. Otherwise, um
I was saying
I
before,
would do it pro
suggesting
se.
looking
Hmm?
for attorneys outside of the state
That's right.
that
That's what
are
I was forgetting.
authorized to practice in the state. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, you might need Ben Crump,
Ben Crump.
high profile.
That's what I was hoping I would get with Morgan and Morgan. But then I also,
But then they sellouts too,
hmm,
you know. I can't speak for a lot of times the politics and what goes on behind. I'm all about pro se
yeah, and
because
that's what I was
it's
saying. I
like,
think it might be
you know,
pro se because at the end of the day,
you know,
that's so much money that I'm going to be paying out to someone else who realistically
and you don't have control.
no control over what they do, what they say, and if I'm going to be that way, I might as well go in for myself. And especially with the tools and capabilities, the resources that I have access to. I have access to
Right.
you. I have
Yeah.
access to AI, multiple LLMs
Yeah.
that are going to be
It can be done. It can be done. And you got a mouthpiece. And you got the lived experience.
right.
You feel me? You can handle it. The same way when I was dealing with my lawsuit in the federal court.
Mhm.
Um, and I applied. I had overcome summary judgment. And at that stage, I've never done a trial before. You know what I mean? Pick jury, hold there is called. Uh, objections, timely objections, so on and so forth, things that lawyers do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So once, normally when you reach past summary judgment, that means you go on to trial. Feel me? Then pro se litigant would apply to the court for appointment of counsel because in a civil case, unlike a criminal case, you're not entitled by
To
law
represent it,
to a
yeah.
lawyer. Okay? So now, once you reach a certain level, like right before the eve of trial, normally they will give you a lawyer because they really don't have trial experience. You're a pro se litigant.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied for, I've reached that point before the trial, put in a motion for appointment of counsel. Um, I argued for my need along those grounds. I have no trial experience, this and that and the third. And the defendants get to counter argue, which they did. And it was like, Your Honor, Mr. Vastnight has been diligently litigating with us for over 10 years. And he is a formidable opponent, and we feel that he is capable of handling this trial on his own. So we request that you deny his appointment counsel.
That's wild.
Denied. Denied. So I'm like this. Pivot. I'll say, Your Honor, respectfully, if the court would like to turn these proceedings into a kangaroo court, I'm willing to proceed. Pick the jury, all that shit. Fuck them up. They see, like watching the shows, they figure because it was a black person on there, I was like, I'd like to excuse him for cause, Your Honor, just because he's black. That's the plant. You should have seen their faces. Like, the fuck did he just do? No, I don't want just because you're black. I don't know. No, that's where you would try and strategically get me to pick it. Like I'm gonna be looking for some skin color and some favor. No. Please, I'd like to excuse the juror number 8, please. Yeah, fuck up out of here. Don't trust them niggas over there. So, in essence, what happens is when you think about it, okay, like right from the very beginning, um, in '95, it's when I started pro se representation. After I had been convicted in Queens, I got 10 to 20 years for the crime I didn't do. I was like, that's it. I don't ever want a lawyer to represent me again. Never again. I got 20 years I'm facing with 3 lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole hypocrisy of it all, I'm a quick study. You're not dealing with a 15-year-old boy, an 18-year-old boy. You're dealing with a 28-year-old man, black man. I had some life experience, so I'm like, I'm learning, like, learning and applying. I'm reading your laws. I see where you violate. I know you violate. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Constitutionally, everything. And everything that came in, and I'm arguing with these lawyers. No, this is what happened. Say this. And they said that. It's like, okay, so I see. So, and dealing with strategy and analysis, going through this experience, you have to adapt, you have to pivot, strategically think, and we got a mean network in the prison. Because we freedom fighters, we fight for our freedom. You feel me? So we have our own network inside that, you know, with years and years of experience fighting this system. You know, so, you know, so the things that I speak about, the things that I write about, the things that I know um, from the inside perspective, from a slave's perspective, you know, not systems or harboring it, you know, the reality of what the system really is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hoax, you know. And then so many of us, our people, are in bed with it, are disillusioned, like it's a justice system. And it's never been that from the beginning. It's never been that from its inception, from the slave patrols,
From the slave
from the black
patrols,
codes.
black codes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And interestingly enough, in New York State, so I'm on the 13th Amendment, right? I'm in I'm the librarian, okay? Yeah. I'm a law library. The books we talk about, I need to work in the library. I need these books. I need to be in the law library. I need these books. And that's where my job assignments were. In the library. In the law library. With New York State Department of Education teaching the GED program. In vocational, I was with New York State Department of Education for 13 years. Yeah. That's how I did my bit with books. With books. And you could fact check. That's why I got so much love for Lori Ann Bassnight. I didn't have a lot of outside communication with family. Um, I don't have friends really. It's pretty much all family with me. And I didn't ask for nothing. But I would ask for books. And I'd be like, Mom, tell Lori to send me this book. And every book that I asked Lori to send, she sent me every book that I asked her for. And you don't have access to the internet. And I'm getting textbooks, physics textbooks. I'm getting A plus Network plus certification textbooks. And we're disseminating this information amongst ourselves internally because we're trying to reform ourselves and keep our skills relevant so that in the event that we do get an opportunity to get our freedom back,
We
that
don't come back.
so far retarded, we're not part of recidivism. So, so it's a lot of weight, even to this day, knowing that every move that I make, every situation that I could find myself in, where it's like, I always use the metaphor of not the trapeze, but the tightrope walker.
Okay.
You know, in the circus, I gotta walk this tightrope with my pole, and there is no net. If I fall, that's my ass. You know, and that is a part of the reality where I talk about and write about the scarlet letter F, you know, felony, digital surveillance for the remainder of your life. So the bid don't end because if I'm ever arrested, which has happened, what do? Pull your record out. What do you do when you go for a job application? Have you ever been convicted of a what?
A felony.
A felony.
Yeah.
So just being out here amongst y'all is, you know, as a, first of all, a slave of the state, now the secondary citizen. You know, I do have my right to vote back, but I don't have the constitutional right to carry arms.
You don't need no guns anyway. Because you
Well,
have
I
HI
mean,
sometimes.
yeah, well, I was
There
trained
you
that way.
go.
I was trained that way. You know that guy
Absolutely.
who just shot the woman in Minneapolis? He didn't need to have no gun either.
Oh, absolutely not. Of
He
course
got a
not.
body. He got a
Of
body.
course
He just
not.
killed a 37-year-old mother.
Of course not. The
I don't
the
have no
idea
bodies.
of ICE is just the new age slave patrol.
Shit. But you
That's
know,
the
oh,
slave patrol
absolutely.
by another name. That's
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. But you know, the whole hypocrisy of it all, right? So, a convicted felon loses his right to bear arms, or her right to bear arms. Okay? And the President of the United States of America has 34 felonies and he has nuclear codes.
He is actually bombing people, killing people actively now, and collecting bodies. So I understand. I
With
said that
34
when
felonies.
I said that when he won, when I woke up to him winning the election, I said immediately out loud to no one but myself that, okay, so that means that you should not be restricted from having any job in this country, because if you can have a felony and become president of the United States, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. So everyone, you should that should not disqualify you from being able to hold a job. However, these are in relation to, and then but that in relation to certain classes of felony, because at no point would you want someone that has been convicted of felony sexual assault or something going on with kids. They can't go get a job as a teacher, they can't go get a job as a bus driver. That
But you could be the president.
hmm
You could be the president. Think about
that's
some of
right.
his charges. Think about some
That's
of his
right. That's
charges. Some of
right.
the women, the
Mashallah.
girls that
Subhanallah, I
Epstein,
mean.
the Epstein files. I mean, they were young
Subhanallah.
girls. So he should be on the pedophile list.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying. Yeah. I mean, the hypocrisy. See, they talk about trickle down, right? From the top down, from the foundation up. No matter how I observe from a historical perspective down to 2026, garbage in, garbage out.
True.
And it started from the top. It started from the paper balls. It started from George Washington and them. I mean, the drafters of the Constitution of the United States of America, the ones who wrote that shit, when you really look at it, the fugitive slave law, three-fifth compromise, it's in there right now. George Washington owned 300 slaves. Thomas Jefferson
Taking their
owned
teeth.
600. These are the founding fathers. The whole Constitution was written and geared around preserving slavery. Period. Not just the 13th Amendment, the whole
All of
fucking
it.
Constitution.
All of it.
Yeah. The whole Constitution, not part of it.
The whole
The
thing.
main articles, fucking amendment, the main articles. Yeah. And so the amendments, as we're experiencing and seeing, are conditional. They can be rolled back. Hence, okay, that felony conviction. Yeah, in a nutshell, that's constitutional law. The whole Constitution of the United States of America is a slavery document. It is. It is. And so, being that we are descendants of Jim Crow. We are the descendants of slavery. We are the descendants of the genocide committed against the indigenous that were already here on three different fronts. It's in our DNA, yours and mine. And we got descended some DNA of the slaver colonizers too. Yeah. Yeah. Great. To still circle back has bodies now. Bodies.
Bodies.
Hundreds,
And bodies who,
thousands of
bodies
bodies.
who, whew,
Bodies. So ice is small. When we start at the top and work down, but again, it's all perception too. You know, like you would think that shit would be rolled back, that because of his corruption, because of his crimes, that it will open up some gates for. What does that say about his supporters?
right.
You know, so they have what I like to call, and not only me, I probably heard somewhere, the illusion of inclusion. Magic. I believe in magic. The motherfuckers is under a spell.
Yeah.
They're under a spell.
I watched where someone had broke down the the difference in the wealth disparity and distribution of wealth, and how few people control people and corporations control the wealth of the world, even, shrinking it down to the US. But that's a form of alienation in itself, of those people are, how do I put it, they're weird because they're not able to relate to the masses. They're like, they might as well be the Sentinelese people, where they have no contact with the modern world at all. And if we were try to go and try to relate to them and talk to them, we're from different worlds. That's what it's like for these ultra wealthy people too, who don't who didn't come, those ones that their children who didn't come from struggle. They don't understand it from the masses. So it alienates them. They there's such a high there's a higher percentage of those people too committing suicide.
Well, what you're describing to me, when I, process what you just said, a
Mm-hmm.
form of, they're isolated,
Yeah.
to utilize the word.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the isolation, um, I can make a connection, theoretically with confinement,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
containment, solitary confinement, isolation, um, and, from medical field, uh, it deals with mental illness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, even if as I say that, and we should definitely do this more, you get me in my flow, you feel? Um, I wanted Chelsea to actually do this, but alhamdulillah, it wound up being you know. Uh, so,
Alhamdulillah. We'll get her in here eventually. Don't.
yeah, we have a history in which you're learning. Alhamdulillah for learning. Um, Medicine didn't originate with European civilization. Or, and I don't even like to use civilization because we're still trying to get civil rights. They don't know
Right.
anything about
So
civilization.
so-called, if we
Yeah,
quote Shahid Bolson, it's our so-called
yeah,
civilization.
yeah. There was civilization before them, you know. No, they are the destroyers of civilizations.
It's barbarism.
Yeah. And so we had medicine. We had our own papyrus papers, the things that they stole, the manuscripts, the surgical precision. All of these things were already being formed. Specialization, dentists, optometrists. It was a full, complete medical systems. And so, like, not having gone through Harvard, Yale, some type of state university to get credentialed, I don't have the peer review of the Western academic standard of academia, which is based upon corrupted information. So I'm able to be pushed off to the friendlies, labeled as if what I'm saying can be dismissed even though it's the truth because I didn't go through your system of education.
Right. When your standard is not the only standard,
Exactly.
even in itself.
Exactly. So you can't see pathology based upon observation, based
Hmm.
upon evidence, based upon historical fact, based upon current events, you know, and lived experience.
Say that one more time. Lived experience.
And living experience. Not
Exactly.
to
We all
mention,
doing time, Daddy. We all doing
there
time.
it is. Talk to me, baby girl.
We
Yeah,
are
it
all
don't
doing
matter.
time.
Life in it, life out here is no different than a cell. Because this is a cell.
It is indeed, considering that there are so many rules and laws that we live under, and even down to us wanting to make a change in our house, make constructions to a place that we own.
So,
We have to get permits and we have to get permission to make changes to something that we own.
and
There's
ownership is an illusion as well.
exactly, you mean you're renting, because at the end of the day,
Yeah,
we all renting space. We all, whether you
correct.
quote unquote own or not, we're renting space that inshallah you get a place that you can pass down to your kids and
Or the
their
bill,
children.
if it ain't paid off, you pass it down the bill.
True.
Until that bit's paid off, you rent. But do you rent an apartment versus do you rent a house? At least you have the possibility of owning your house.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The house, that's
Yeah,
what, when I say I'm talking about getting a house that you can pass,
yeah,
that at
from
least this can
generation to
be the
generation.
space.
And
This is
some land.
where,
Yeah.
and some land. Yeah.
Versus whether to whether to rent or to lease. You know, rent or buy. You
Rent or
know,
buy.
do I lease the car or do I buy the car? You know, so again, we into consumerism,
Yeah.
being consumers. And what's interesting as well is one of the things that I'm pulling out is even in, the property that we're on. Maryland is one of the few states that still has ground rent. You got to pay ground rent. So you may have a house on the property, but you don't own the land. So at the end of the day, what are we talking about?
Right,
Land.
because
Land grab.
land is what you need.
And so again with the indigenous, that's the indigenous DNA, our ancestry, which we're locked out of, because of blood quantum rules that are fucking
Asinine.
a corrupted database from its inception, so that we do not get the
Land,
rights to
the
our
rights to our
land,
land.
to tax exemption, to sovereignty as a people. And then on top of that, every African that they brought over here, our ancestors, were a sovereign people. So we have double sovereignty. And if they really want to get technical, you could take this European blood that was injected
Right.
into my DNA, and they have sovereignty, so it would be triple sovereignty. Real talk.
That's
And
true.
so this is why it's important, that we have these conversations, that you understand, that my grandchildren understand, you know what I mean? And spread out. Because we'll have this idea that we were slaves and that's where it started. No,
No.
no,
We were
not where we
kings.
started. And that's interesting too. Um, with that in mind, that whole phenomenon, where everybody says, "What's up, king? What's up, queen?" For identity purposes, for motivational purposes, for um, you know, uh,
Prosperity. And
self-esteem.
there you go.
Building self-esteem. Like we're not a fucked up people. We're the kings
Yeah.
and queens. Now. I know a little bit about monarchies. You know what I mean? Just a little bit.
Hmm.
I get it why we do it. You know what I mean? Culturally, coming out of this oppression and shit, nigga this, nigga that. We were kings and queens. But that's all fine again. But
Yeah, but the kings and queens were crazy. True.
yeah. And the thing about it is, it ain't but one king and one queen. So everybody wasn't kings and queens. Some of y'all motherfuckers was warriors and all the other
Yeah.
stuff. Not saying you were diminished or anything like that in the
Right,
capacity.
absolutely. But
You
your
know,
bloodline would
yeah,
tell
yeah,
you what you were.
yeah.
And what were we? Pharaoh? Pharaohs down our line?
That's what they say with the 23 and me. The same thing. So you share common ancestry with Ramses III. So I looked at that when I first saw it. I was like, that's interesting, to say the least. Pretty fucking interesting, you know. Is this hype? I need, how do you put, so I'm going pro with the wife, and I'm like, well, I'm going to put some shit like that on my profile. Like, you know, she was like, well, it ain't on mine. I got a point here. And we find out what it is. Let me dig a little deeper. Who is this motherfucker? First of all, how do you get his motherfucking DNA up in the system? You feel me?
Right.
Start doing research and like, they do facial reconstruction of the mummy and all that shit. Adrian looked at the mummy and tell me I look just like her. Fuck man, fuck you. You know,
But
that's
you know
funny
that
though.
that is very interesting. That places our lineage in Kemet or where he was based.
Hmm.
So that lets you know that our one of our ancestors was brought. Or wait, no, not necessarily, because just
Here.
as Mansa Musa,
Hmm.
just as they traveled, our people also could have traveled and could have very well just traveled here, and we're here for, we don't know. That's
Well, actually, we're piecing it together. And this is one of the things that um, education is key. And you have literally at your fingertips the biggest education system in the fucking history of mankind.
yeah.
You feel me? So it's like manuscripts that are being recovered from Timbuktu. There, is a system that the Yoruba, as they name them, okay, naming has so much uh, power that Yoruba is a broad umbrella. Okay, Yoruba is the umbrella that Europeans and colonizers gave to our people to lump all the different tribes and clans under this umbrella of Yoruba, under the umbrella of Mandinka, under the umbrella of Zulu. But what is it that we call ourselves?
Right.
Okay. So when we look at and go back through time, um, taking those manuscripts, the Arabic was there, but so was the native tongue. Okay, native writings have been around forever. We weren't illiterate. So what they have now from Timbuktu libraries is native West African, and I don't even like utilizing African because I'm like
Just
black Cuban,
have
man.
no
You
thought.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have like a Swahili script or the the Swahili um, language. They combined it with Arabic, and they have mad documents. Yeah, with describing a culture and everything from indigenous populations, but it's written in Arabic. Smart motherfuckers, multilingual. Those are the manuscripts that we want back. Give us our shit back. Fucking thieves. That would open up troves
Yeah.
of knowledge. You know, so you try to go, we may, um, inshallah, we have access to our sacred sites, the pyramids, the hieroglyphics. Not what you're telling me it means. Let me go and analyze it with my own and judge it with my own thing because man, to decipher it because it was never written for you or by you in the first fucking place.
Right.
So we can't let you see it. You could come and go through the Egyptian motherfucking Ministry
Museum
of the Interior.
yeah, the exhibit we put together.
Yeah, yeah. But let us have access to our land, to our and our history. fuck you restricting me and it's ours. It was made by our ancestors quite naturally. You can't translate shit because you yes. God, them pictures ain't up there for nothing. It's carved in stone.
And it's still standing after all this time.
Give us our man, give us our both back. But look at the greatness of it, and this is what we're saying. Look at the greatness, not only just on Africa, not only in Africa. Everything, everything, every land, every fucking land. Before there was a European, them fucking people are like 60,000 years old. Period. And the world been here for billions of years.
Yeah.
They're dated. They can be literally dated.
That says a
Just,
lot.
yeah.
Ooh.
And that's not to say they're bad people. This is just
Absolutely.
scientific, genetic fucking shit. This is genetics. Yeah. You've only been on the planet literally for 60,000 years. You fact check me. You know me.
Oh no,
Fact
I
check
believe
me.
you. I know that. We are so aligned
Via
in a lot of
genetic
the
mutation. Via genetic mutation.
yeah.
That's what it is. Via genetic mutation.
Yeah.
Via genetic mutation. Loss of pigmentation. Well, why they couldn't tell us this on the plantation? Why didn't they tell us this during segregation? They didn't tell us this in integration, and they damn sure ain't trying to teach it during assimilation. You know, you got to specialize in this shit. You know, it's like if you wanted to be practice medicine, you got to go
Yeah.
through the syllabus and the curriculum and the internship, and you got to specialize in this shit to be a surgeon.
Not many people care about genetics in that way for it to be specialized. That's a even then you have to be looking at a certain form of genetics. Even further down, specializing further down into going into um that falls within genealogy, I think, in
Yeah.
general.
And interestingly enough, being multilingual and a linguist, as many of our ancestors are, linguists. Um, the term genetics,
Mhm.
you know. So you come from Webster Dictionary days, You
Yeah.
pre-internet baby too, you feel me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Encyclopedia Britannica. Look,
Yeah,
we were
exactly,
in
exactly.
the
So
library with them floppy
that,
disks.
yeah, that word gene, where does it originate? What is the etymology of the word gene?
Let's find out.
Oh, I've been there. I'm just trying to drop a little seed for my baby girl. Let's
Well, go
go.
ahead and okay, let me
Ah,
listen.
ah,
Let's hear it.
ah. Do not underestimate the power of the handicap. I love words. I love language. I love communication. That was my MOS, military occupational specialty, communications.
Let's find out.
Jimmy.
So according to my favorite LLM so far, Chat GPT, that's just because of my GPTs. The word gene has a relatively recent origin, and its etymology reflects the development of modern biology. Etymology of gene, coined in 1909 by the Danish botanist Wilhelm Johansen, introduced to describe the fundamental unit of heredity without assuming a specific physical or chemical nature, which was unknown at the time. So linguistic roots. Gene comes from Greek genos, meaning race, kind, offspring, birth, or origin. Some related Greek verbs. I don't know how to pronounce that. To come into being, to beget, give birth. Let's see. Also, some of the root words with the same root. Genesis, generation, genus, genetics, genealogy, which is tracing lineage. Important conceptual note. Johansen deliberately chose gene as a neutral term. It did not imply DNA, proteins, or any physical structure. It simply meant that which gives rise to inherited traits. Okay.
Say, what is the connection between genius and gene? I got to make this new tainted information spit out the old school fact. You heard me?
Mm-hmm. Connection between genus and gene is both linguistic and conceptual. They arise from the same root idea of origin and kind, but operate at different levels of biological organization. The shared etymological root. Both genus and gene come from the Greek root genos, which again is race, kind, stock, origin, or offspring. This root carries the idea of what something comes from, what kind of thing it is, and what it gives rise to. So at the most basic level, genus is the category of kind. Gene, unit that gives the rise to kind. Genus classification of kind. Genus is a taxonomic term used to classify organisms. It groups species that share essential traits. For example, Homo, or for Homo sapiens species, Homo being the genus. Functionally, genus answers what kind of organisms is this. It is descriptive and external, which is how we categorize life. Gene, the generator of kind. Gene is a biological unit of inheritance. It encodes instructions that produce traits. Those traits are what make organisms belong to a particular genus or species. Functionally, gene answers what produces the traits that define this kind. It is causal and internal, how traits arise. The structural relationship. You can think of the relationship like this: genes to traits, to organisms, species to genus. Or more conceptually, genes generate traits. Traits define organisms. Shared traits define species and genus. So, genes are the generative cause. Genus is the classificatory result.
Question. Good question. For ChatGPT.
Okay.
My daddy said that the Greek the Greek did not originate, and it may have derived from the Jenny, Jinni, or the Jinn, Jinn.
Okay. That idea shows up in oral traditions and spiritual interpretations, but it's important to clearly separate linguistics history from theological or metaphysical belief without dismissing either. I'll do this carefully and respectfully. What historical linguistics can say, evidence based, from everything we can document and trace through text, Greek is an Indo European language. It is attested in writing as early as Mycenaean Greek, Linear B. Good morning, baby. 1400 BCE. Its root can be traced through comparative linguistics alongside Sanskrit, Latin, Persian, etc. From a strict academic standpoint, there is no linguistic evidence that Greek as a language derives from gen or slash geni. Words like gene, genos can be traced through Greek, Latin, modern languages with documented continuity. That's the scholarly position. Where the gen slash geni idea comes from, an important distinction, the idea that Greek or other ancient knowledge systems did not originate solely from humans, comes from a metaphysical or theological framework, not from linguistics. In Islamic theology, jinn existed before humans, which is in Quran 15:27. Jinn possess language, knowledge, long lifespans. They interacted with humans before and after Adam. So the claim is not Greek words literally etymologically came from Arabic jinn. Hold on, I'm trying to scroll up here. From the Arabic word jinn, but rather some ancient knowledge attributed to humans may have been influenced, transmitted, or inspired by non-human intelligences. This is a cosmological claim, not a linguistic one. Why people associate Greek knowledge with non-human sources? Historically, Greeks themselves believed knowledge came from external intelligences. Muses, daemons, yeah, or oracles. Plato himself said knowledge was often recollection or inspiration, not invention. From an Islamic lens, these intermediaries beings would map more closely to jinn, not angels. So your father's statement fits the interpretive framework. Greek civilization may have received knowledge rather than originated it. Linguistic similarity versus conceptual overlap. So a key clarification, jinn or jenny, the Arabic root, hidden or concealed, jinn, Greek root, birth or origin. They are not linguistically related roots. However, they overlap conceptually, not etymologically. There's a chart here. I'm looking over it. The concepts that were there align are hidden origin, generation of effects, pre-human or primordial, source of knowledge, where they just put checks along each other. So people intuit.
Well, the thing about it is it's kind of like you got a guy, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It'll mix apples and oranges. So strictly from an Islamic perspective, what is the etymology of the jinn? Okay, so you got Greek over here versus Islamic civilization over here. Yeah. Let's not mix it apples and oranges, you know what I mean? Let's just deal with what is the root, what you got for jinn. How does that tie into genetics and genius and so on and so forth based upon classical Islamic scholarship? Forget the Greeks for it. Let's separate this and deal with it from that perspective, and then give me like a side-by-side comparison. Then you can make your own informed decision. I like that. My daddy said.
They, my GPT is well aware that Abdullah Hakim Kenneth Basnight is my daddy.
Yeah. Oh, I've corrected that Komori thing too. I had to,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
That must have me cracking up. For real, I was like, okay, come on. I literally said it out loud, like, okay, come on. I see you working. I didn't know you were. I didn't know you were into the GPT like we were.
And so the whole thing is, uh, oh, another, just a quick sidebar,
Mhm.
um, about this AI. Okay, you can check it out. Now, Amazon is actually using Palm Pay.
Oh, they are.
I heard it. I need to fact check it. But yeah, biometrics. Just pay for your shit.
Let me see.
And
All
that's
right.
very.
Let's see. So the Arabic root of jinn, the word jinn comes from the trilateral root J and N, core meaning across classical Arabic lexicons: to conceal, to cover, to hide from perception. This root never means race, birth, or generation in the biological sense. Examples from the same root: jinn, hidden beings; jana, garden covered with foliage; Junan, madness, the intellect is covered; Majnun, one whose reason is veiled; Janin, fetus, hidden in the womb. I can't read the last one. Covered armor. It didn't give me the phonetic. Key Islamic linguistic principle. A root carries a single conceptual core that branches into multiple usages. For J and N, that core is concealment. For Jen, it's concealment. Okay. The only direct biological overlaps: Janin, fetus, where here's where genetics enters, but carefully. Janin, meaning fetus, unborn child, named not because it generates life, but because it is hidden within the womb. The fetus is called Janin before traits manifest. This is crucial. Quran reference. He creates you in the wombs of your mothers, creation after creation in 3 layers of darkness. Surah al Zamar 39:6. The emphasis is hiddenness, not mechanism. What Islam says about heredity without genetics. Islam does not frame inheritance mechanistically. Good Lord. Instead, it uses nasab, lineage; silsila, chain; qadar, divine decree; kalk, uh, creation; takdir, measured apportionment. The Quran never attributes traits to material causal unit. Allah shapes you in the wombs as He wills. From a drop He created him and proportioned him. The emphasis is divine will, measurement, hidden process. So, what is the Islamic relationship between jinn and heredity? Not biological. Jinn do not encode traits, carry heredity, pass physical lineage to humans, but conceptually parallel one way. Both genetics and jinn operate in realms that are unseen, hidden, known only by effects. Islamic theology allows this analogy. Just as Allah creates outcomes through hidden means in the womb, He creates realities through hidden beings in creation. But analogy is not equal to identity. Why Islam resists genetic primacy or primacy. Islam intentionally avoids saying that this trait exists because of X physical unit. Instead, the trait exists because Allah decreed it through hidden processes. That is why no Quranic evidence, a Quranic equivalent of gene exists. Hiddenness Kao is foregrounded over mechanism. Six, a precise Islamic formulation. From a strictly Islamic perspective, jinn, derived from the root jnn, meaning concealment, genetics as a concept overlaps only in that inheritance occurs through hidden stages, not because jinn are biological agents or linguistic ancestors of heredity. Or, more succinctly, jinn are hidden beings. Heredity is a hidden process. Both are under divine decree, but they are not the same domain. Final clarity, no ambiguity. Jinn are not the roots of genetics. The word jinn does not mean gene or generator. The shared point is hiddenness under Allah's will. Islam prioritizes qadar over mechanism. Now, if you want, next we can trace Nasab versus DNA. Examine Quranic embryology, embryology versus modern genetics, or analyze where modern genetics conflicts or aligns with Tawhid. So, is there going to be another follow up before this has to be placed into Gemini? Because I feel as though.
Yeah, let's clean it up. So one more follow up, and then we're gonna go to Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What does it mean about um? Well, no, it's yeah. Go ahead to Gemini.
Now? Okay.
I lost it. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, that's the sanitized, strictly Islamic learning Islam perspective, Sunni Islam perspective. And there's other perspectives as we know.
Yeah. Since we are looking at this strictly from an Islamic perspective, we have to look at the Arabic language and Quranic concepts of creation. In this framework, the relationship between gen and the biological processes we now call genetics is not found in a shared word, but in a shared metaphysical state. Here's the breakdown of the root in relation to the unseen nature of heredity. The root J and N has established the root of Jinn is J and N, which means to cover, veil, or hide. In Islamic thought, this root is the umbrella for everything that exists, but cannot be seen by the naked human eye. The concept of al-Janan, the fetus, the most direct biological link in the Arabic language is the word Janan, which means fetus or embryo. Why it is called Janan? It is not called this because it is growing or because it has DNA. It is called Janan because it is hidden within the darkness of the womb. The genetic connection. From an Islamic perspective, what we call genetics, the blueprint of a person's height, eye color, and character, is part of the Janan state. It is a latent, hidden potential that Allah is shaping in a realm humans cannot perceive. The unseen, Gab as the bridge. In Islam, jinn are a part of the Alam al-Gab, the world of the unseen.
Gaib.
Gaib, okay.
Gaib.
Alam al-Gaib. The genetics before the invention of the microscope and modern sequencing was also entirely a part of the Gaib. If your father is suggesting a connection, it may be based on the Islamic idea that unseen forces, latif, govern the visible world. Jinn, hidden beings that influence the world. Heredity, a hidden process that determines physical reality. While they are separate kinds of creation, they both belong to the category of things that are majna, hidden, covered or hidden from human sight. The hidden blueprint versus the gene. In modern science, a gene is a physical thing, DNA. In strict Islamic terminology, there is no gene, quote unquote. There is only qadar, divine measure or destiny. The Quran says, from a sperm drop, he created him and destined for him his properties or proportions. Surah Abasa 80:19. The word used for destined or proportioned is kadara ara Qaddarah.
Yeah, Kadara.
Kadara.
Yeah.
Okay. This suggests that while we see genes, an Islamic perspective sees divine proportions being woven into the Jinn, the hidden one, by the will of Allah.
Oh no, it's operating different, man. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, let's go here. Okay. Say, uh, just from a Webster's dictionary's perspective. Okay. Um, that they it was proposed that like dealing with magic and the gene or the gene, that's the connection. Um, and that there's a connection between the gene, the gen, and genetics. I dream of gene. Looking for my mouse pad.
From a dictionary and historical perspective, your father is onto something very interesting. While modern science and modern linguistics, the study of how words evolve, keep the words gene and genie in separate boxes, the Webster's Dictionary history shows a surprising accidental quote unquote connection that links them through magic, spirits, and the unseen. Here's how the connection works from a lexicographical dictionary based perspective. The word genie, a linguistic accident, occurred according to Webster's and the Oxford English Dictionary. The word genie did not actually start as the Arabic word jinn. The French influence in the 1700s, when French translators were translating the Arabian Nights, 1001 Nights, they encountered the Arabic word jinni. The match, they chose the French word genie to translate it. Why? Because the French word genie from the Latin genius referred to a guardian spirit or a guiding force that everyone was born with. The merge. Because genie sounded so much like Jenny, the two words fused together in English. Genie becoming the word for a magical spirit, but its parents are both the Arabic jinn, hidden, and the Latin genius, generative spirit. To link gene through genius, uh, this is where the magic genetics connection appears. Both the word genius and the word gene come from the same ancient root. Latin genius originally meant a tutelary spirit that presided over a person's birth and destiny. Latin geniere, I believe, means to beget or to give birth. The genetic connection. The word gene was coined much later in 1909, as we discussed before, but it was taken from the same root of giving birth/origin. The magic connection. In the old Webster's definitions, like the 1828 version, genius was defined as a spirit or demon supposed to preside over a man's destiny, to direct his birth. To follow your father's logic, genies or jinn are unseen forces that influence human life and possess hidden knowledge, magic. Genes are unseen forces hidden in the cell that preside over our physical destiny and direct our birth. Linguistically, the bridge between them is the word genius, which in ancient times was the name for the spirit genie, but in modern times is the root for our biological code gene. Holy crap.
Now, take Gemini and put it back in the chat GPT. But my wife tell me all the time, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You know, I think I do. You know, I think I do. I mean, I've read a lot of books. Dictionary. Remember they say Malcolm read the dictionary? Part of our discipline, you gotta read this fucking dictionary. How you gonna write a legal brief
And you don't know, you don't understand the words. You don't know the definitions.
you're skipping over shit? No. That word, oh, I saw a video yesterday, that shit had me crying. So the little kid was sitting in the intake for this school.
Still fighting back.
They had a sentence, they had a course. That's because it's strictly learning Islam. You know? So the kid, the sentence was saying, once upon a time, that's a teacher's supposed to just one sentence, read that sentence. He said, say upon a time, da 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 da. And so, Pops looked down, and he was like, boy, I say once upon a time. He's crying.
There's nothing like being loud and wrong.
Upon a time. What did I say? Once upon a time.
Once upon a time. That's funny. Ooh.
So, in your experience, you know, even with the AI, you know that what guardrails are. You know what the customization will do. You feel me? And strictly stick to that. And counter argue you based upon the guardrails, based upon the training data. You feel me? And that's in and of itself valuable information to know. Especially, you know, looking at your children, my grandchildren, you know what I mean? And how this is going to be, it still remains to be seen, how they're going to utilize it in the school system, or if they're going to utilize it in the school system. Because it's interesting, they're doing now the banning of cell phones in schools.
Which is
So,
a lot.
yeah, banning of cell phones.
Considering we have too many, can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? Daddy? Hold on. My headphones. Can you hear me? I can't hear you in the headphones. Did they sync? Give me a sec. I'm waiting for the headphones to reconnect. Okay, can you hear me? No.